Aha. Now I'm recording this live. What's up, you all? So now as soon as Ryan gets here, we can edit it. Why does my hair look like a Kindle sometimes? I don't know. I'm over it. I think it's cute. Does it look like I have something weird on my chin? I don't know. But I'm excited, guys. I'm gonna see if I can do like a split screen here of some kind. Hold on. Because I want to be able to see your questions when you guys ask them. Let's see. Let me see if I can do this. Da-da-da. Oh, this might work. Hey, I just might figured out my life right here. Okay, now I'm gonna go here. I wonder how quickly it syncs. Let's see. Because I see myself live right here, but I don't see any questions. Does somebody want to type a question in the chat right here and see if I can see it? Does anyone want to type a question? Any question? I need to get... Oh gosh. I'm not going to say that on Facebook Live. I was going to say I need Botox, but I should be kinder to myself. Oh. And so you guys, I just came back from St. Louis. I was filming with Luke Terrell, his kitty, and his amazing crew. So that was fun. I'm tired. I'm still not adjusted fully to life because, you know, it's a lot of work to do a short film, to do a film, to be on set, to do all that. You know, I'm gonna come back, you guys. This was just the pre-show. Make sure you tune in. Okay. I'll be back. Wednesdays with Andy. No, let me share the link I have, period. It could be because we're late. Let me see. Invite. Copy. Go here. Oh, let's see. Facebook. There you are. Let me see if.
Oh my gosh, you look fabulous.
Oh, you do. Wow.
I need
Hold
my
on.
hair. Oh boy.
Your hair looks great.
No.
I'm so jealous of your hair, actually.
Well, I'm jealous of your background.
Thank you very much. Let me see. I'm gonna see if we can go live. Oh my gosh. Where are you now? Are you still in New York?
I am in New York, yeah.
Hmm.
I wasn't the last time we did it. I was in Ohio.
Oh, that's right. You are in Ohio. Let me see if we can do a side by side.
Do you want do you want me to turn that light off? Is it distracting? The one behind me?
No, it does look like a seedy motel, but I love it.
Do you want I can turn it off. I mean, it's gonna
Um,
be regardless.
try. Oh, well, when you turn the camera like that, I get more of you anyway. And that's hot. I like it. There
I
you
know,
go.
but this poll is bizarre.
Oh,
So
you don't like the pool. Okay. Well, it's up to
it,
you.
it's just a lampshade. 1 second.
All right, no worries.
You're gonna go live with me waddling back.
No, I'm gonna wait until you waddle back and then we'll go live. We're not live yet.
My apartment is nothing if not a seedy motel.
Okay. Oh, you're in your apartment. Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
this is my apartment, but it doesn't have art on this wall yet. Um, I had this crisis of, am I going to be able to put art on the wall, or do I need it blank for auditions? But I figured out that I can do tapes in front of my window at night, like with the blind down, so that
Oh, so
so that I can hang up art.
I bought a divider, right? Because I have a huge sliding door. I bought a divider, just a plain divider that I put in front of the sliding door that acts as my blank screen when I do auditions.
That's
So I do the same thing because I can't do white walls. It gets me a little kooky.
it's a little,
So
it is scary, but I'm also have to wait, and I can't do it alone, so I have to wait for somebody to come over and hang it.
do you have any help that you have? I have a
I have
I
friends. Yeah, I have a friend who's gonna do it, but I have to wait for. I commissioned a painting from a friend who's a disabled artist, and I'm very excited about it. However, I have to be respectful of the time it takes for the
right.
painting made by a disabled artist. Um,
Let me see. I'm just setting this up to make sure it's all ready to go because you are now ready and I am ready. And let
that's right.
me see. That's public. This is public. Go live. Why won't it go live? Okay. Let's see. I'm going to close this window. Huh. All right. I'm going to close the window and do it again. Just give me 1 sec. Why didn't it go? I might have to add our titles after. Let's see.
Want to try? Do you want to re-enter or create a new Zoom meeting or something? Is it
No, it's just like when you're on Facebook, it only gives you a certain amount of time to create the live stream. And I guess if you don't do it, you have to redo it, right? If you don't go live within a certain amount of time. So I think that's all that happened. But I just want to
do
make
you
sure.
want do you want to start over? Is what I'm asking.
Oh no, 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 we don't have to. I just cleared the link, so we're good. Let's see. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Okay. We are going live in 1, 2, 3. And it's good. And there's a bit of a delay too, so you know. Um, like when you say something, it won't pop up for a few seconds um, on the page, but we are ready to go.
All right. How do I tell my people? Do I just go to your page and
Yeah,
send it?
and just share the link
All right. Let's.
for my page.
Hi
Yeah.
everyone. We don't mean to be boring at the start. We're just doing technical mumbo jumbo. It's
We're,
nice to see you all here.
yes, it is great to see everybody here. I am super excited for this, and Ryan, thank you.
It's not on your page yet, so you know.
Oh, it's not on my page. It says we're live right now. Let me see. I'm gonna send it to you on your messenger.
Okay.
We might get a little feedback because I'm looking it up on my phone. Let's see. Well, I see both of us. So I'm gonna
You
share the link
do?
with you. Yeah, I'm gonna share the link with you
Okay.
now, and then you could send it out to your peeps.
Got it.
Okay. I just heard a beep.
Says it says attachment unavailable.
What?
I
Huh.
don't I don't know what's happening, but it's okay. It's okay. I can share it
We
after.
will share this after, and I can tell you that so many people are going to be watching this because they are amazed by you and they think you're beautiful, and you are. So I know. Yes.
Okay.
What?
Thanks.
What was that? Do you not do compliments? Some people don't do.
I do, but it's not the compliment I expected. I don't know what I expected, but thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, you know you're gorgeous. Stop it. I mean, you are, yeah, you are talented, but I have to say, Ryan, you are one of the people that make disability look very attractive. I'm like, huh, I've never dated anybody with a disability, even though I have one. And I'm like, but he makes it look really enticing to want to be with somebody with a disability. And that's a feat, I think.
Well, thank you. I wish the boys were coming to the yard, but we are in a pandemic, so they're not coming yet.
Right, which is kind of good because we want to be COVID free, but
We do.
yes,
I am half vaccinated, and my second one is coming.
mine
Uh,
too.
good.
Yeah.
I didn't know what your California situation was going to be, but I'm happy to hear that you had access to it.
Yeah, no, I definitely got it taken care of, at least the first one. And looking forward to the second one, right? And so
For
because
sure.
that honestly, the whole not being touched for a year was a little traumatic, you know.
It is traumatic, and uh, as many wonderful disability activists have said, including Amani Barbarin, uh, that is an experience that disabled people were facing long before the pandemic. Maybe not you or I.
Yeah.
The concept of like that is what happens when the world doesn't see us as touchable or desirable or uh, romantically capable,
Or
really.
doable, right? I mean, it's just like
Or
not
fuckable,
not a
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
doable, fuckable, however you want to say it. It's and that is part of why what you're talking about in terms of me. I know I'm sorry to I'm not a shy person. I thank you for your compliments about my beauty and the fact that I make disability enticing. That's a you know that is my job in that play. That is a play and that is a performance. Um, so and that's the story. I mean that's what I am meant to communicate to the audience member. And you happen to be an audience member who is disabled. There are many who are not, and and I need to sort of exude that confidence as the character of Ryan in that particular story. But it doesn't mean that I feel it all the time. It doesn't mean that here in my apartment, an hour ago before I had showered to prepare for this and shaved to prepare for this interview, or yesterday or the day before, that I'm constantly that the
I was
world.
looking to see if there were comments, by the way. You
Oh,
can't
good.
see
Well,
it.
no, if it's somewhere on a page, I'm excited. I want to share it. Um, the Do you know what I'm saying? That it's in I'm an actor and writer, and that is the show you're talking about, which we haven't named, was streaming for the month of February called Hi, Are You Single? But it's a show. It's a play. I'm an actor in the play playing a character of that is similar to me with my name named Ryan. But it doesn't mean that on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Friday, I'm sitting here alone in my apartment in the middle of the pandemic, believing all of it. You know what I mean? Like the world and the sort of skewed way that I know you're doing the work, I'm doing the work, and so many of our friends and peers are doing the work to 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 shift the paradigm on its head of what disability is, how we belong in other people's lives, and how we belong in our own lives. Because the narratives that we're told don't only harm the way disability is viewed by the public that is not disabled, it also affects even the most empowered among us how we feel about ourselves on a day to day.
Mhm. I feel that, and I want to dive into your show in a bit, but I feel that mostly like I don't know about how many apps you're on or whatever in terms of dating, but
Uh-huh.
I'm on I'm on all of them pretty much. If they have a gay man on them, I'm on them, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. But here's the thing, gay men, I love you, but sometimes you could be dicks, and the
Sure.
majority of what happens is they like what they see, and I'm very honest up front, like you and your walker. I'm in my wheelchair. I don't try to hide it. They get the full wheel show. But I think, like, how the photos are cropped when you're seeing the thumbnail versus the
Ah,
full thing.
yes, yes.
So I'll
Uh-huh.
get the swipes, I'll get lots of swipes ready to go. And then, and I always say I have the little accessible symbol with the pride flag right next to it because I want people to know this is what you're getting into. Like, just period. Because if you're up for it, then I want to talk to you. If you're not, no
I'm over it.
judgment.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
I'm over it, and I'm not interested in the barrage of rejection that is those apps
Mhm.
when you're not up front.
Right.
Obviously, there's rejection anyway, but if you can filter out a lot of the garbage, then it's better for your emotional health to
Yeah,
be
because it was screwing with my psyche, getting all these likes and then not getting the response back, or getting the.
I've been doing Hire You Single around the country for years, and on live as opposed to in a pandemic without an audience. But I was at Stanford University a couple of years ago, and a young, very attractive college student in a wheelchair. I like walk, it wasn't a theater, it was like this concert hall thing. So my accessible exit was like out the door, up the elevator to the dressing room.
Mhm.
So I like bow, thank you, and then walk out, and this young woman follows me in her wheelchair and like sort of chases me to the elevator. I didn't have a moment to be like, I just did a show. Like it was kind of like, oh, okay, here now I am in front of a fan. Is she a fan? Does she hate me? I don't know what this is about to be. But I'm just waiting for the elevator to take me into my dressing room, probably so that I can pee or something.
Right.
And she goes, I just have a question. Like, would you tell someone on an app if you wore glasses versus contacts? And I was like, but what just that? What? And they're
Exactly.
like, if you wore glasses versus didn't, like, would you be upset if somebody like didn't wear glasses in their picture and then wore them in the? And I was like, I wouldn't be, but like, you can see my glasses on my profile. Like, what is this about? And her whole point was for her, this younger than me, almost a decade, maybe a little less than a decade younger than me, uh, fabulous college student in Palo Alto, probably had more confidence than you and I both share combined. And good for her because she chased the performer off of the stage to the
Right.
elevator. Um, but her point was like to her, her and her wheelchair is the same as somebody else with glasses on. And I thought, oh, okay, like if that works for you, amazing. But that what you just saw, I think I said, like that was my play, that was my story. So it comes from my experience, and my experience has been if I'm not up front in the beginning,
Mhm.
it it will cause pain.
Right.
Like it's not, that every guy's an asshole, but frankly, if you or I are in a scenario, and I don't want to name it or label it as one thing or another, but if
Right.
you're on a date or if you're about to go on a first date with somebody you've just talked, only been texting or in the app or whatever, and and they show up and they are different than what you expect. If they, dare I say, misrepresented themselves in some way, doesn't that put you in a straight, like, it doesn't make you or I feel good in the
Right.
reverse
Right.
scenario. It kind of, well, this is awkward. That's not what I, but why didn't you tell me? And it makes it starts you on the wrong foot,
Right.
for lack of a better word in a
Right.
disability language. It doesn't put you on an equal playing field. So I just want to not put somebody else in a situation that I know myself would be uncomfortable. Doesn't matter what it is.
Right. No, I completely agree because I look at it like this. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm not going to put it in a pocket. It's not going away. It's part of who I am. The guy I meet, I've had several relationships and bad first dates. But the guys I meet, I tell them right away, like, this is the deal. You, not everyone can deal with it. Not everyone has to deal with it. I'm not one of those people that say, like, if you don't deal with it, you're a jerk. I'm one of those people that, like, I'm gonna let the universe or whoever you believe sort that out. That's not my business. If you can deal with it, that's great. If not, that's okay too. But I think as a culture and as a gay man, I think gay men need to be a little bit more woke when it comes to ability, versus their Peter Pan syndrome slash invincibility ideologies that we carry around with us. Because I think, we are all going to age into something different, uh, into
Yeah,
yeah, right? So, like, and it goes to, like, ageism in the disability or in the LGBTQ community. We can't just discard our people who are in their 50s and think of them as not wanting touch or feeling or thought or uh, any of that. So I don't know. I agreed with many of the themes you had in your one man show. Do you call it a play or do you call it a one man show? I was thinking of it.
it's
Yeah.
a play. I call it a. I
Okay.
don't know. I it's a to me it is a play. It is a solo play.
Okay.
The arc and the architecture and the fact that as a I've poured into it. I'm a playwright, and
Okay.
I made a play, but and I think it's because I am ingrained in the theater industry,
Mm-hmm.
and I've learned time and again. I've been doing that, as I said, been doing this play around the country for 6 years now. I mean, I think we're coming on like the 6 year anniversary of the very first performance at my university. Like, is days away. Um, and I faced rejection with this play from theaters over and over and over and over because I think that there is stigma around the notion of a one man show.
Mm.
People think that it is less than a play. And I'm here to tell you, I wrote a play. I'm a playwright. It's a fucking good play. I'm a great writer. And I think the difference between a play and a one man or one person show is sometimes that you could be a very charismatic performer and a fabulous entertainer, but not have much to say.
Mm.
And I have something to say.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. Now you changed my mindset on that. It is a play, and it's a very good play. Like, there were so many emotional arcs in your show. Um, and I have to be honest, I almost bought it twice. I
Well,
I
you told me you watched it twice, which is fun, which is
I
lovely. I
watched
hope
it
you only did
twice.
it on, hope you only did it on one ticket. I want to make it as affordable for people as possible. So I hope you were able to get two viewings out of one.
Yeah, no, I did, but I mean, to be honest, in my privileged place, I can afford to buy it twice. But what I was thinking is that I would love to have it somewhere where I could buy it. I would harass you for a signed copy, and then I would be like, wow, here we go. I'm all about extending that sort of library of great art in the disability space, and especially when it comes to marginalized communities like queer and disabled and other just everything. I think it's so important. And I cried at least,
Mm,
I'm trying to count the amount of, I cried at least twice, but I remember the deepest emotional piece of me was, and spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't watched it, watch it. But it was when you were talking about that guy who and his status, right? And whether or not, yeah.
sure.
And so that to me, my ex was positive and I'm not,
Hmm.
and that was a big thing in our relationship. That was a big piece of why I don't think it would have lasted, because like you in the play, it was like we were mirroring each other in that moment, because I didn't know enough about that to say fully I'm willing to deal with this for a long period in my life, because I didn't want to be a poster child for two things.
Ah,
um
mm,
yeah.
very, ooh, see, that's a phrase that I uh, isn't in the play, but I find so interesting. Um, and I think I would imagine we'd want to rephrase what you said. You said deal with, and you want to say probably live with,
Yeah.
something that you want to live with. Um, because for so many people, for so many people I respect and who I care for, who've taught me so much about what it is to live with HIV proudly, with your head high, and knowing that if you're undetectable, it's not transmittable. If you're, that PrEP exists and there are ways to not transmit it from one partner to another, that you can have mixed status relationships and not, shut somebody out because of that. I didn't know that, or well, no, because I say in the play that I did, which is true. But I've grown,
Yeah.
because as I say, it's been 6 years. In all 6 years, that story has been in the play. Different iterations
Mhm.
of in different levels of depth. The version that you saw is the deepest it's ever gone, and in fact, I went to we consulted with some HIV positive folks
Mhm.
on the sort of rewrite, not of the story itself, not of the rejection,
Of
but
what you say about.
what I say afterward, what I say when I reflect on
Mm,
what I might have done, how
right,
I might have shifted the paradigm for myself.
right.
Um, but I do think it's so interesting. Um, and it's something that we continue to struggle with. That's why I don't say, and next time I will, this is exactly how I'm going to behave, because you
Right,
don't know. It depends on the person, it depends on the
right,
connection. Do I
right.
have a connection with this individual that makes me want to move through a difficult
Yeah.
and navigate this situation that I don't know a lot about.
And
And
that, yeah, go ahead.
the other thing is too, I'm highlighting the parallel because I imagine that that is what a lot of people who are considering or curious about dating a disabled person, they face that same kind of roadblock of, oh, I don't, am I, do I like them enough to surmount this? But the question that in both cases I think it raises for me and you as people who are negative and want to be more open toward dating a positive person as we should be. They are just as worthy of love as we are.
Yeah.
But it's a question of, in our fear and in our uncertainty and in the learning that we must do, and if we say, do I like this person enough? We don't know if we like them enough because in many ways we put up a stop sign that says no, and we
Right.
close off even the smallest possibility of human connection. And that's the danger. What are the relationships that we have said no to because of our own prejudices, our own biases, and our own, frankly, insecurities, that we wouldn't be able to live with someone else's difference.
And that's exactly where I was, like, when you were speaking in the play, that's where I was, I would say, 5 years ago, right, when I was in this active relationship with this person, is I didn't know any better, right?
Mm,
I didn't know. I knew about prep and I knew certain things, but I still had the fear. And since then, I've grown and I've learned, and I know now that if I meet the love of my life and he happens to have HIV, then that's fine. Um, but back then, when I was trying to navigate, I'm significantly disabled. Do I also want to take a risk and potentially have this too? It was just a challenge. So when you were speaking about it in your play, it really caught me. Like my throat clenched, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Um, and so that was, it was beautiful to see. The other thing that was really beautiful to know about you, and I know some of it was based on your real life, and some of it may have been enhanced, but
yeah, most of it is real, but the characterization is heightened. You know what I
okay,
mean? Like the events took place, but the me being like that big
yeah.
uh, is crafted, is not the same as me sitting here talking to you.
Well, I think too, I mean, when you're on a big stage like that, we have to make it bigger, right? And make it
Yeah,
fuller for the audience. But I think there was that scene, and I think the scene where you're sitting on the couch and you're with that other individual, the footballer or the
football player. Yeah,
yeah. And I'm like, wow, how many times have I said no out of fear? Right? Or out of what's after this, right? Like I used to be of the mind that said, oh, this is too good for me. And this is not,
mm,
I don't
mm,
deserve this.
mm,
And I used to second guess someone's attraction to me based on my legs and just my body shape. I was like, what would you find attractive about this? And that's like my inner dialogue. I call him a demon that just nags at my head sometimes.
yeah,
But when you spoke like that, it really touched me, and it was not just because of disability. I think it was a universal sort of what we all think and what we all go through, and we mask those by maybe going to the gym, or spending a lot of money on things that we don't need or whatever. But I really applaud you for being that honest, because
thank
that,
you.
yeah, it's so vulnerable.
I mean, you have to have both sides. I stand there for 40 minutes and go, disability is sexy, disability is sexy, disability is sexy, disability is sexy. And then I sit on the couch and say, why would anybody love this body? And
Yeah,
you can, like, it's the fact that, like, I can know something intellectually,
yeah.
or and believe it, really believe that I am a sexy person. And then you're sitting here in the beginning and telling me I'm beautiful. And I'm like, what? Like
Like, who said that? Yeah,
like it because the narrative of what we are and what we are worth, no matter how much better we know, I know better, you know better, it still fucks with our brain. And
yeah,
that's part of why I want us as entertainers and people who are outside of the entertainment sphere, publics, public figures with the power and the voice to be able to inform the next generation and beyond,
right.
that they are worth it.
Hmm.
Because and I don't know about you, I have the most supportive family in the world, that uplifted me, that made me feel fabulous from the youngest age. And even with all of that support and the self-esteem that was literally pumped into me, you still have moments of I am not enough.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
And so imagine the kids in Arkansas or Wisconsin who whose family is ashamed that they're disabled,
Mhm.
even in the year 2021.
Yeah.
Ashamed. It exists. We know it exists. I don't want to tell that story because we've seen so much of that story.
Yeah.
I want the more positive and the more empowered so that those kids can say, oh, wow, maybe they're wrong and I am fabulous.
Right. I think too, you are, I mean, we're both young, right? And I think that that speaks volumes to the work that you do as an individual. I mean, you are a theater actor, you can tell because you're so good. I always joke with my theater actor friends that they're better actors than TV actors, right? Because there's no cut, there's no let's redo that scene. There's like you either get it or you don't, and you have a sucky performance. And so I could tell you're I could tell you're a theater actor because you're so good in your in just the way you are. And so I think that that is great because you are showing you're paving a way for male actors in the future to know that they have a place and a space.
Well, male, I'm hoping male, female, and non binary,
Right, right.
and to say that I'm the only one, I'm not, I'm not. I'm aware of that, that it's like
Yeah,
a group effort and that we're all working on our individual careers and we're in our lane and we're doing our thing and we're trying to get the next job. you know Thank you for saying that about my acting. Just because theater actors might be more technically skilled doesn't mean that we necessarily get the TV job. Thank you very much. All the time. We're not, it's been a rough audition season. Okay. It's been a rough audition year. But thank you for that. I, I, I think we are, that everyone opens the door. Uh, Ryan O'Connell is opening a door. Ali Stroker is opening a door. Christine Bruno and David Harrell, who are wonderful theater actors
right.
and film and TV, but who were literally responsible for many of us with their organization, a former, now closed organization, Inclusion in the Arts, for making the beginnings of careers happen just by
Right.
sheer like I advocate for this person or this group of people and I vouch for them and you should think about them and audition them. Like that we all must be opening doors for each other. I look at Amani. I know I've mentioned her already, but the what she does on Twitter and with her writing and now with her she's merging sort of into entertainment and she is absolutely a powerhouse. Like
Mhm.
I just want to sit at her feet and listen to everything she has to say because I am learning. It's
Yeah,
not just it's not just like uh-huh, oh yeah, mhm, that's right. It's I'm actually learning something from another disabled person who's not just parroting the things that the rest of us are saying over and over and over, but is actually bringing so much new to the table about uh, our own. We talk about the gay community having bullshit. So does the disabled community. We have our own set of biases, and there is racism, and there is all kinds of stuff that we need to be better at if we
right,
want the world to see us. It's similar to
right,
what you and I experience in the gay community. It's
right.
that we want the gay community wants everyone to accept them, yet they can't accept each other. And same is true
In the
in the
disabled
world of
community.
disability. We
Yeah.
must we must make room. And it's also making room for different kinds of stories and different people to tell those stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think you you know this about me. I think I've been hustling in Hollywood for 10 years.
Literally there.
Yeah, literally there, but then I took a job in DC for 4 years because the doors weren't cracked open the
enough.
way that I wanted them to, because I would go into a room and the first thing a casting director would say is, this is too much. This is a lot going on here.
They
Whether
would
it be,
say that to your face.
oh God, yes. I mean, I've heard so many things to my face, that my skin is thick, literally. I Nothing phases me. I've heard that my lifestyle's too diverse, which basically means I'm too gay. Um, I've heard that I'm too dark skinned, right? Which means that I'm not ethnically ambiguous enough, because I'm Hispanic. Yeah,
I'm
so there's,
I'm
yeah,
looking at you. I'm like, you're one of your skin is lighter than mine. Like you very light. What are they talking about?
I
That
don't know. I don't know. But the point was to me is that, I came back to LA. So I'm living in LA now, and I've had some good auditions since even in COVID pandemic times. But I think I credit both Ryans, you and the other Ryan, is opening the door just slightly for our community, because a lot of the times when I got parts, they were hetero parts, right? There weren't any um
you mean you were
LGBTQ.
auditioned or cast in? When the real parts you auditioned for or got cast in?
I auditioned for parts, and the parts that I got were ones that either I created or ones for low budget Disney stuff that I did that didn't have a sexuality, because we all know that Disney characters
Sure,
are asexual. So
sure, sure.
those were the safe parts for me. But when it came to actually experiencing like all of me, or putting that into a character, that wasn't there yet, you know what I mean? And so you with this play and other things, I want to give credit to everybody, but especially you with this play. I feel when after I saw it, and the next audition I had a week later after that, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna I'm gonna put a little bit of me in here, a little bit more of me. You gave me that sort of sense of it's okay to do that. Um,
Yeah, I mean it. I don't know. Some people can disappear. I'm never one of those people. So if you, especially if you give me a part to audition for that is very different or distant from me, I have to put some elements of myself in it in order for it to even make sense, because otherwise why am I the one saying these words,
right.
even if it's for 5 minutes or 2 minutes in an audition tape? So absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, because if they don't, and frankly on a TV set, if you're doing the same thing for 4 hours, the same 2 pages for 4 hours or 6 hours,
Hmm.
there's no way that on take 47 you're going to that some of you isn't going to slip in.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can't.
yeah.
So you need to, they need to be able, they need to say yes to you
Hmm.
as well as your interpretation of the character.
Yeah, and I think you do that well on the politician. Like, I know you're playing a heterosexual, and that's
He's
beautiful.
he's 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 fluid as of season 2.
Oh, that's right. You said that one. I forgot
One
that scene in
line.
the
It's one
boardroom.
line, but it is a significant line,
Yeah.
and I think is there because they wrote. I think they put that in because of me, because they knew who I was and what they were dealing with. And they knew that I spent all of my episodes in season 1 being like, hello, director, I'm straight. Help. I'm supposed to be straight. Can you help me? And they're like, what are you self conscious about? Like, and I said, well, because I know, I like, if you watch me for 3 seconds, I know I'm gay. And I do the sort of best I can in season 1 to sort of push it down, push it down. And I had
Well, the
help.
Hawaiian shirts help.
I
They,
had help. I had help from the directors to do that. But
yeah.
in season 2, that very first page of dialogue that they gave me, had that one line about sleeping with some men, so that I had a little more freedom.
Yeah, I think your fluidness, your sexual fluidness in season 2, um, was just very liberating for me to see, because, and it was just one line where I was like, wow, okay, they're letting him be him a little bit more, and to me it was very powerful. I catch those little nuances all the time, and one of the things about that show in particular that I love, you're one of my favorite things about the show. Um, and I love the majority of all the characters, but your character development as a kind of a nasty, sort of kooky, will do anything to get anywhere, but always having that level of, emotional depth that was so good to see. Your character was just, you had many peaks and valleys that I thought you rarely see in a disabled character.
Yeah.
You see a one note character sometimes that is the hero of a story, and then you're like, oh, that's the disabled character, of course. But one scene, I'm like, I like him so much. And I'm talking about your character, not you.
For
But
sure.
the character, I'm like, oh, I like him today. But then you would do something really horrible, and I'd be like, what a dick. But that is what made you so watchable, is that you went from liking you to not liking you to liking you again. And I think that those nuances are challenging for people to write for, and for people to play off. So
Right. I want to credit that was the writing, particularly in the second season. I mean, in there is he has vulnerability in season one. There are two scenes where he displays his vulnerability in season one. But I feel like I was doing the hard edged vulnerability. Whereas in the second season, when the writing called for it, I was allowed to let my guard down and be show a bit of his heart, so that
yeah,
you realize, even though he's sort of at odds with Peyton, Ben Platt's character, for the most for both seasons, there's sort of a tenderness about their relationship halfway through the second season, and there's a real sort of, oh, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, but actually in private I care about you, kind of.
yeah,
And then you had the date with Infinity, which was, we're 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 waiting for 2 seasons for these people to have a scene together,
right,
and he gets what's coming to him in terms of being a real creep and being a male in every sense of the word,
right,
who doesn't listen to a woman when she
right,
says she's not interested.
right,
um but there's also a heartache and a softness, and please, please, please like me kind of
right.
thing, which
Well,
he
I
would
think,
never
yeah,
have let you see. He would never have shown in another circumstance. So that was really the writing, and I really grateful to those writers, uh, Ryan Murphy, Ian Brennan, and Brad Falchuk, for what they did in 2 seasons. First season, I only say cerebral palsy once, and it's when I'm smoking the joint, and it's the punchline of a joke. And in the second season, no one, no one talks about my disability,
yeah,
except one time when I weaponize it, when I'm trying to get what I want and I turn it around and I use it as a threat. And that demonstration of power,
yeah,
and then the demonstration of it, he can play a role in this plot and it
right,
doesn't matter that he's disabled. That
right,
is like, woo! Because that's the reality of my life.
right,
That's the reality of life,
right,
is that we live stories all the time, and we like no one is talking about our disability. It's like, well, that bitch did this thing to me. Isn't that terrible? Or,
Right.
wasn't he wonderful? Like it has nothing to do with the fact that because if people know us and we are intertwined in people's lives, nobody's saying, "Oh, my disabled friend Andy or my disabled friend Ryan." They're just saying, well, Ryan did this. Isn't he an awful person? Or
Right.
Ryan did this. Wasn't that so kind of him? But
Right.
it recedes and
Mhm.
still is part of our identity, still is part of our activism, but isn't a part of our of the right kind of interpersonal
Right. My
relationship.
my friends forget my wheelchair a lot of the time when we're out. They're like, and I'm driving with them in their car, they'll forget to put the wheelchair in the back of the car because they'll be like, "Oh shit, I forgot you were in a wheelchair." And I'm like, I would be upset about that, but the fact that you
Oh,
forgot is kind of cool.
well, there's goods and bads to that too.
Right? I mean, there's
I
good.
I
Yeah,
prefer to have I prefer to have a friend who can have a total conversation with me, have nothing to do with the disability, but
right.
then they are able to whip my walker out of the trunk and open it up, no questions asked.
Yeah, I know
That
you. Yeah.
you don't want to like leave it. I mean, I frankly one time I don't really use a wheelchair except for when I'm in like long distance situations like an
Mhm.
airport or something. And there
Yeah.
was a time when I, get off the plane in Cleveland to visit my family and wheelchair, 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 coming, coming, coming. I get to my parents' car and they go, "Where's your walker?" I didn't remember to take the walker.
Oh shit. Oh
So
no.
like riding along. And then said that the person who'd been pushing me went back in and went and found it, and we didn't leave the airport without it. But
Yeah.
I had that moment of, oh, well, I'm mobile. I'm in
Right.
the
Right.
I I have some level of mobility. I don't need another one. It was just completely. But I want to ask you. I know we're coming on. We're we started a little late, but I don't want to keep us for too long. But I want to ask you because you are a little bit older than me. You've been around a little longer. You've lived a little more life.
Yeah.
And the thing that you have, and I might have asked you this last time, I don't remember, but I'm always so interested in your Facebook posts and in our conversations that we have. You you haven't just dated around and hooked up. You've had relationships that you label as relationships.
Right.
I know a lot of disabled people have and are fulfilled by, or they come and go. That is not something that I have reached in my life. In I there was one moment of dating one person for a few months, and that was it. Kind of, we never got to a point of we are in a relationship. What? How does what is the once you I mean there's the dating and how do you oh okay we're boyfriends now all right like I don't even know how to get to that step but what I want to know from you is what is it once you're inside, what is the work and the reality once you've made a commitment to each other and then here you are, it's not a fairy tale, it's not the end of a romantic comedy and cut to black, but like it's a relationship with give and take. So can you tell me what that is and how you feel your disability does or does not play a role in those scenarios?
So that's a very good question. And I'm only a smidge older than you, not horribly, but it's okay. I don't even know how old you are. I was assuming you were, what, 26,
I'm
27?
29.
Oh, well, then we're closer in age than you think. But but it's
I
okay.
only
Maybe
said that you, I only said that you were older because you paused your career, went to DC for 4 years,
oh
remember
yeah,
that?
but I started working when I was 17 just cuz I grew up in foster care and I had to start working at 17 in order to maintain the lifestyle that I wanted to maintain.
Got it.
But we're only a smidge older than each other. But what I will say about relationships is this. Um, once I'm in them, uh, it they're work. They're lots of work. And people, I understand why people hook up because it's the instant gratification without the work. No work is needed. You find someone you find attractive, you do it, you get whatever you need, your need is met, and then you leave. The problem with me, not problem, the grace with me is that I'm one of those people that I choose to be intimate with people that already know my body, because the
Mm,
sex is that much better, because I don't have to sit there and explain to Tom, Dick, or Harry, by the way, my body only moves like this. By the way, I can't be on this position for more than 5 minutes, or by the, I don't want to have to go through all the by the ways. So for me, a relationships, um even though they're difficult to get into and keep, they're just easier for me in long term, sex wise, because explaining myself over and over again to people that I may be hooking up with, it chips away at your psyche and your sort of self-esteem a little bit when you're constantly describing your body to folks and how it functions. um so yeah, and compromise is the huge thing. Like I've grown a lot as an individual to say that it's not all about me and my needs and what I want. As soon as I'm in a relationship with someone, I have to look at it and say, like, half of what I want may be compromised by half of what somebody else wants. Not that I'm going to change, but I'm going to have to stretch and make it so maybe I don't like sports. So I'll use that as an example. I don't like sports, but if my guy likes sports, I might sit through a game every Sunday just to get some touch. I'm kidding. Um, but it's stuff like that where you have to make those decisions. There was one thing I did not compromise on at the end of my relationship, is moving to DC. He did not want me to move to DC. He made enough money to where he wanted me to focus on my acting career, and he said, "I don't understand why you want to take this position." I, as an individual, said I need to continue to grow, need to continue to shift and change and mature. And that was the choice that I made that essentially ended our relationship. But what I will say is that it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it opened doors that weren't open to me before. And so it's a give and take of who you are and who you want to be with somebody else. Um,
mm,
Now, if I had the same decision, I might make a different choice, because I want to be with someone. I want to have a family someday. I want to be a dad, which a lot of gay guys don't want to be. Um, but that's something that, I have to decide now and think about. But I think when you told me you hadn't been in a relationship, I think we talked about it before in our last conversation, but you also mentioned it in your show. I was shocked. I was shocked because we as disabled folk look at each other very differently, I think. And I look at you and I'm like, well, you have a lot more functionality than I do. Like, it just take disability versus disability, your functionality, and your I don't know how to say it, but just the fact that you are who you are, not you as an actor, but you as a person. I would look at you and say, like, why wouldn't anyone date him? Like, that's, or why wouldn't he be in a relationship already? Like, why wouldn't he just be not throwing people out right and left, saying, no, not you, but maybe you, or not you and maybe you. Um because it's a challenge for me, but I always thought it was because I was sitting on my ass vers versus up straight, you know? So, I just found
Um,
that surprising.
well, I think I I'm trying to write a fictional character that is not you and maybe you and not you and maybe you, who sort of usurps that and has the power, and make choices, and still sabotages himself, but uh, is not exactly a mirror of myself, so that we can see what that looks like too. Like, see what it is to not sort of be begging for crumbs, but in fact have a feast in front of you and be able to say, well, I want these two side dishes and this main course, right?
Right,
um when I say I'm writing, I mean I'm 2 pages into a pre-writing document, so that does, and we're talking 5 years down the line, because I've not even started any kind of story stuff.
right,
But I thought, like, do I want this person to be me, or do I want this person to be a different flavor, and with my still same humor, and still all that I can bring and all the charm, but not so much the desperation. And I hate to admit that it's desperation, but it is kind of. Um, and I think the energy that you respond to, that I think a lot of friends, and I think a lot of uh, colleagues who admire me, or whatever the word is, respond to this kind of confidence, respond to this kind of, I know that I I want this, and this, and this. You were saying before you wanted the play to have a life, to be able to rent it whenever you wanted. I want that too. But I know also that after 6 years of performing this piece, the version that you saw was, to me, not the final presentation. Isn't what I imagine in my head for my Netflix special or my
right,
HBO special. I want a little bit more of a non-COVID a non-COVID capture of
right,
this piece. And
right,
so I want what you said, and I'm making it known to everybody who's asking, yes, but not yet. Yes, but not yet, because I know what I want. And I think the same is true with men. And when you approach a man with that kind of energy of, I really like you. Hey, I really like you. Can we hang out? Or, hey, we went on a date that I thought was really great. When can we go on the next one? Knowing what you want, saying what you feel and what you mean,
mm,
it freaks people out.
right.
And why? Why does that happen?
I don't
Because
know.
all I'm doing is being honest.
Right,
And it's the honesty that you respond to as, like, the thing that should make, you're talking about my mobility. Okay, yes. Maybe it isn't, are they looking at you in a wheelchair versus me in a walker, but are they looking at, wow, Ryan is a bit too self-assured, and it bites me in the ass sometimes, and then I end up in my bed sad and lonely and feeling depressed, because the what I want, and what I come right out and say I want, isn't materializing, because I'm not playing a game, because I'm not trying to be coy, because I'm not
right,
trying to mince around and, ooh, play hard to get. I'm 29 years old. There's gray in my hair. I don't I don't need to do that.
right,
I've never wanted or needed to do that. And if that's the thing that men are going to respond to, that I need to hook them with
right.
mystery, or deception in some way, please, you've got to be kidding.
Yeah,
Absolutely, I'm so bored of it. And if that means that I'm 29 now and I'll be alone until I'm 35, yeah, this will be a lonely 6 years. But I would rather be true to myself and keep waiting
mhm,
than try to, like, reconfigure the way I navigate men in order to trick someone into liking me. No, what
Right.
you see is what you get.
I just find one final thing. I'm very much the same way. I used to you haven't seen all of this yet, but I'm very small. I'm 5'2". I'm 125 pounds. So I'm like a pocket gay. And I may present a little more on the feminine side, but I would never consider myself feminine. I would just say that I'm very fluid in that way. But men, they have their categories that they like to put people in. And when I come off as intelligent or self-assured or funny or smart, or this is what I've been through and this is what I have, it freaks them out because they want someone who's submissive or someone who's subservient or someone who will do that. And I always tell people, if that's what you're looking for, that is definitely not me. I am not one to be told what to do or take your order just
Mm-hmm.
because you may be older, you may have more money than I do. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I would rather be single for a few years and find the right person than just date and keep going through that playing game cycle. So I think I know you will find someone very soon. I feel it. Like I saw your play and I'm like, someone's gonna snag him up so quick and they're gonna be awesome, and then that'll be its own thing and I will be super excited to see that. But I want to ask for the audience, what's next for you? Because you've had two huge successes in the last year, that I would say were amazing, right? And so there has to be something big coming in 2021. And if you can share it, great. If not, then understood.
For
But
sure, for sure. No, there's not. I mean, there's no big secret. I won't. I mean, there's not a. There's nothing. There's no bubbling Hollywood project that I'm signed an NDA for. I think the reality is I'm auditioning over and over and over and over and over and hoping that I get a part someday, even when I think it went really well and like my rep thinks that it is a shoe in. It's not a shoe in because people aren't ready. As much as we're banging on Hollywood's door, they are not ready to reconceive non disabled roles to have a disabled actor in them. Devastating. But I just keep trying. It's hard. And you look at me and you're like, you've had two major successes, which is true. I have. But um, but I also know that I've gone a whole year of audition. I've done a whole year of auditioning and not gotten a single part or a single callback, frankly. And it
right.
isn't because my part. It isn't because the auditions are bad. It isn't because I'm not prepared. It isn't because I'm not funny or interesting or dynamic. It's because Hollywood is fucking slow. So, uh, the the reality is,
Yes.
the next thing absolutely going to happen is I will return to Washington, D.C., to that same stage at Woolly Mammoth, to that same set, and do Hire You Single live for the DC audiences.
Well, I will buy my ticket for both shows because I have to go back to DC over and over again. And
Great.
when you're doing it, let me know, and I'll make sure to make it a work trip, and I'll be out there to watch you.
And
Um,
the other truth is there are uh, three other plays that are another. There's another solo that one day will be paired with Hire You Single,
mm,
which they're sort of their companions to each other. There's a play that is structured like a solo play, but has two other deaf or disabled performers in it that aren't just me. Um, and that play is the one that is sort of most likely to land in New York first, even before Hire You Single does. That's a play called Dark Disabled Stories. Um,
Mm,
and it is a different in tone, darker, edgier uh, meal that says, um, sometimes bad shit happens
yeah,
to disabled people,
right.
and as empowered as we want to be, here's some of the dark stuff,
Hmm.
and just because I tell you that it's not always sunny doesn't mean that I'm a victim, doesn't mean that you can pity me. You don't have the right.
Right.
But the truth is the truth,
Yeah.
and so it is it's a little edgier, and I think people would watch Hire You Single and be like, that's really edgy. This is even more. This is sharper. This is sharper, and there's some daggers in it.
Oh, I like that. So,
And then
yeah.
there's a family play called Good
Well,
Time Charlie.
well,
So
I
the
like your dagger play. So if you ever need an actor for that in any of its iteration, I will be happy to audition. Because I've played the bitch and I've played the sweet person, and I always prefer playing the bitch for some reason. Uh,
I
yeah.
haven't written a bitch in that play, other than maybe myself. But
Oh,
again, no, it's structured. It's built like a solo play in which it is mostly me telling stories, but then there are two other performers who are supporting in the sense of access, and then they step forward into their own stories
oh,
as
wow.
part of that evening. So
Very cool.
I'm excited about it. And so basically, as you said, the roles that come are the ones typically that you create for yourself. And I have this docket of plays that I hope in the return of theater coming late 21, early 22, there will be more opportunities for me to tell different stories as Ryan, as this character named Ryan, um, but to be in to tell stories that you haven't heard from me before.
I am very excited about that. I plan to take a trip to New York this summer. So if I hit you up for a cup of coffee,
Yeah, I
don't,
won't be doing a play. I won't be doing a play in New York this summer, but I'd be happy to have a coffee, of course.
that would be great. And I just think that, my audience, when I talk about your stuff, they're so receptive because they understand, like you, we're supporting each other. We're an entire community of artists, of people with disabilities. You and I being gay or, on the spectrum of that, it's really important that we highlight each other and move each other forward. So I just care about your work and
Mm,
who you are so much. I
thank you.
can't wait to see your new stuff. I will be in DC when it comes out. I was so bummed when I knew you were actually going to do it because I started seeing the promotions for it before pandemic
Right.
hit, and then you went there and I was in LA and I was like, "Damn it." So when it
Yeah,
happened,
but
yeah.
I was very quietly there.
Yeah.
With there was no audience really.
Right.
There was a very small audience as you saw, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like I advertised. I'm traveling now. I was terrified. It was
Yeah.
very scary. It was
Yeah.
very scary to travel during COVID, but they made it as safe as it could possibly be, and we made it through that whole process, and nobody got sick, so we were very lucky.
Well, I will be there post COVID, and cheering you on because and I'll probably be the emotional mess in the back row going, "Oh my God, no," but it'll be good. Thank you so much again for taking time. Means a lot. If people have questions, I'll send them to you and you can answer them or do what you will with them. But I can't wait to see your new thing. And you need to write a book. You need to write a book about some of your stuff that you're doing in some way because I always think of you as a literary character that's leaping off the pages. So I'm not
I
giving you,
I
yeah.
think the book will come in my 30s or in because what
later.
because right now I have the plays, and then hopefully someday a TV show, and then after, and because so much of my storytelling comes from my own life, um, I have to sort of pick and choose what to put where.
Yeah.
And so I think if something is to be published in the next 5 years, it will be a collection of my plays, maybe, or one play at a time. And then hopefully I'll be on TV with a show that lasts several seasons. Who knows? There's no plans for that. I'm just saying things out
Yeah,
loud.
no.
Um, but I will do a book. I have to ask myself, what set of material and what kind of narrative will be best served by a book versus a performance or a special
Right.
or a television show, you know. So I will heed that advice, but I will do it when I'm ready, you know.
No, I totally agree with you because I'm one of those people that I need to be doing 5,000 things or don't feel like I'm doing anything at all. So I appreciate your work ethic in that regard. But I will chat with you soon, my friend. You were
All
amazing
right, my
as always.
friend. Thanks for this, and have a fabulous rest of your evening.
I will record it and send a copy to you so you have
Well,
it.
it is recorded.
It is recorded, but I will send you a copy.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.